Yeah, we're live. Dang it. Stuff all over me for my assembly here. So it is 7:10, a little bit late. But that's because I was assembling a motor. This one. Wow, watch the piston go up and down. Watch. Wah, 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 wah. Crankshaft. 2-bolt main. Long 6-cylinder. Pretty cool though, all like kind of ability goodness here. Da, 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 da. So this is what I'm assembling tonight. These guys sent me one of these, and it's supposed to run. So it's kind of cool. I'm a little worried. I don't know. You guys can't really see it if I can get it, but the piston isn't at 0 deck, so the compression is going to be low. It definitely needs boost, but it's cool. It's all ability, and I like assembling motors, so this will be fun. It'll be cool to see the cam tunnel in there. So it'll kind of be cool to put all that together. It's got piston rings and radiator pumps and all that stuff. So it's just like an engine actually. So it'll be interesting to see. But the thing that I like about it the most, obviously I like putting a motor together. And there's something, whether you're putting something like this together or the real thing. If you get something from wrecking yard, take it all apart, put it back together, or if you're rebuilding a motor, you took one out of your car, you take it all apart, take it out of the machine shop, have all the clean stuff, and you get it back, then you can assemble it. The thing that I like about this is that, and I wish that my motors were this. What am I trying to think of? I wish they were this well organized. When you get the box of this thing, everything is in its own little, compartmentalized styrofoam section. So the block is in one, the crank's in one. They're all separated. They're all clean. That's the way that an engine assembly should be, whether it's this kind of thing or something that you're putting together. When I do a junkyard motor, I like to take everything off. I try to clean all the hardware, and then put everything together. So that's like when I take it apart, we've talked about that I take everything, put it in bags, and then, label it so that we clean it. And then when I go to put on, when you go to put on the front cover or the rear cover or the cylinder heads, or the cam, putting the camshaft in, putting the oil pan on, see, wah, 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 wah. 2-bolt main. So whenever you're putting that together, all the main caps are together, all the bolts are together, everything is organized. And that's the way that this was. So when it comes out of the package, you just set all the little sections together and then fairly detailed instructions. It looks like I've been going over this. My goal is to have the short block all done tonight, and then we could start putting the other parts on. So it'll be, like I said, it'll be cool. The only thing it's missing is it just needs a couple of turbos on it, because it has 2 3-branch exhaust manifolds on it. And so, yeah, obviously each one of those could house a turbo without any problem. I don't know where we're going to find some tiny little turbos, but, to me, like this kind of stuff is just fascinating. I just watching the piston go up and down stuff. It's also a good thing for me to show my sons, like, hey, this is how a motor works. So this is the crankshaft, this is the camshaft, these are the mains. When that spins. We're going to connect it together with a camshaft. See, they spin together and, all that stuff. Just an easy explanation. As long as you can visualize it, it works fairly well. So it will be interesting to see, when it's all together. So I'll do another video. I'm doing an assembly video of it, so I'll probably put that up. But I'll be able to show you guys on one of on the live feed also. Kind of show you what's going on. So that will be interesting. One of the other things I wanted to talk about tonight. Where was my photo that I'm looking at? Where's my photog? No, it wasn't the cam timing. Okay, here we go. It was a series that I did for the guys at Muscle Mustangs way back when I bought a '98 Mustang. I called it the redheaded stepchild for a number of reasons. One, when I bought it, when I was talking to the guy on the phone, I said, "Look, it seems like it's a reasonable price or whatever. I'll come look at it." And it was fairly far away. It was an hour or whatever away. And I said, "Look," I said, "you're saying that this car is red. So to me, this is red." I said, it's not the like maroon or burgundy-ish red, right? Now it's red. It's red. I went out there and naturally it was not the right color red. And so, but it was his version of red. So right away, I didn't like it. I bought it anyway because I needed something. I needed something right away. It had 1,000,000 miles on it. The rear end made lots of noise. The motor seemed to run fairly good. It was a non-PI 98 deal. And then the reason I got that was the whole goal was the goal was to have it make 300 at the tire with a non-PI motor. It was difficult. It took a lot of stuff. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was in order to do that, to make power, we always have to trade stuff off. So in that case, we put the 274 cams in it, which fit with the available piston to valve clearance. And they made good power, from 4,000 on up. Let's say they did fairly well. They did trade power down low, which was common in those modular Ford cams from Comp. The gains were good. I mean, the 274 cam that we put in there was those cams were quite a bit better, especially after we dialed them in. Because sometimes with the cams, even the stock ones, the side to side, they're not even. And so if you take the time to dial them in, which we were able to do because we put that in, we actually ran them on the engine dyno. And then because we took the motor out of the car, ran it on the engine dyno, and then changed over to a different short block and then put these cams in and then put that motor in. So we had lots and lots of data. And I was hoping that when we put the short block together, the new fresh short block, that we would have saw a lot of power gains, and we saw nothing. And that's isn't that always the way? Oh, this thing has 198,000 miles on it. It's going to be really tired. And then we put a new fresh one in and break it in and get all that done. It's like, yeah, that makes the same. But putting the cams in obviously worked and made more power. And we had like mildly ported heads or something. And we put all that stuff in the car and drove it around. And it definitely made a lot more power than stock. The problem is that it made more power than stock on the top. And when we look at these curves, it's easy to go, oh, yeah, look, it made 50, 60, 70 horsepower more, whatever, compared to stock when it was modified. We're like, oh, yeah, that's really good. But driving it around is a different thing because those 274 cams lost a lot of power down low. They lost a lot of torque down low. And when I say a lot, I mean like 30 or 35 foot-pounds down low. And so like at 2,000 RPM, where everybody wants their towing cams to be, if you just stepped on the gas, like you were driving around in fifth gear or whatever, or you're driving around in town in fourth gear or whatever, you're driving on a 25 mile an hour road or 35 mile an hour road, and you just stick your foot in it, it's worse than stock. It makes less power than stock. So it just never felt good unless you were, and particularly after we put the guys from MagnaFlow helped us, and we did an exhaust upgrade on it. We put long tube headers on it. We did exhaust and stuff, and the car sounded really good, but it was very loud. And so, particularly with the cams in it, it was very loud. So if you were taking advantage of where the thing wanted to run and make good power, from 4,000 to 6,000, let's say, or even a little beyond that, it just was not. It was loud, and it wasn't fast enough to be as loud as it was. So it was just not a good combination. It wasn't after we put the cams in and stuff, it just was not a fun car to drive around in. Now we cured that eventually. We eventually made 300 at the tire because I made my own custom intake manifold and all that stuff. We put even better ported heads on it and stuff. We did, and not PI heads. We did non-PI heads because that was the goal. We couldn't stick PI stuff on there. It would have been a lot easier had we done that. But we were able to make that. But even at that, it was just not a good car to drive around in. The way that we made it a good car is we took or a good motor, let's say, but a good car too, because it's all part of the package. was that we took the 274 cams out of it and put 262 cams in it, which were a little better, still kind of soft down low. But then we put a Kenny Bell blower on it. And then it was like, okay, now at least we have the added low speed power from the blower. And then obviously just a ton more power everywhere. So it was a lot more fun to drive, but we had all the low speed power back. At least it did at least as good as stock and did much, much more than that. Obviously would have done even more if we had had milder cams in it, which is why I went to the 262 cams, because we had the 274 cams in there just to get to our number. But like I said, it just wasn't as good to drive around. And obviously, as always, the cure is boost, which is what we want to put on this. Wah, wah, wah. Now just imagine all the fire happening and stuff. That's cool. So I have I think I have a link to their stuff in the description of this video. So if you guys want to check that out and check out, they got a bunch of different kinds of engines. I kind of wish that this was an RB or something, but it'll be cool nonetheless. So I'm excited about it. 1 Liter Mafia is in the house. It should run on 87. Yeah, it's going to run on maybe less than 87. Relatively speaking, that's pretty far down. I'm gonna maybe put some spacers in there or something and get it back up. One from the Godfather of the G10 Mafia. Run on 89. It'll definitely run on 87. Cough you have. I've been having a dry cough for a month now. It's odd. Maybe you got it for me, right? Large scale RC engine. It is kind of like that. One of my push rod tubes wants to kind of come out. Are the valves cast into the block? No, I think that they're in the head. You can see. Those are just push rod tubes. Camshafts in here. Let's see. One of the push rod tubes wants to keep coming out. Just tuning in. Where'd you get the little motor kit? It's from the guys at Howin Engine. It's DIY. If you want to see, like I said, there's the link to their stuff is in the description of this video. Ads had me blocked. What's a small engine for? That's what I'm putting together for tonight. I'm building a 6-cylinder in my house. I missed the magazine. I saw a moped yesterday and the engine sounded like a 2-stroke. I thought 2-strokes weren't allowed to be registered vehicles. The older mopeds were 2-strokes. You could still drive those. Give it some nitrous. I know I could put a little shot on there, right? So I think that this thing runs on gas, I think. It's got little piston rings in it and stuff. Alan, Getaway. Ryan, what's up? I looked up the kit, thought it might be for a youngster. Yep. Is it expensive? I don't even know how much it was. That was the nice thing about being a YouTube person, is that they offered it up. So this like for this channel, this thing for me is the perfect kind of thing for somebody to say, hey, look, would you do a video on this thing? Because this isn't blinky lights or whatever. I get stuff. I get hit up all the time. I get emails all the time, especially if I put my email address on stuff, which I tend to do, so that people can buy the camshafts that I have that are available. That'll change pretty soon. We won't just be doing it that way. I'll have a store and all that. So we're trying to set all that up. But this is the perfect kind of thing for this channel, because this is the kind of thing that I like. This, or like I like scooters. So if there's a scooter place out there and you want to do something, I'm for that, because I would like to do a road test of some electric scooters. I think that would be fun. Can't really do chassis dyno, but I can do GPS and hill climbs and that kind of stuff. So it'll be fun. Shadow, Getaway. I'm not saying Getaway. I'm just saying that's the name of another thing. My cat O2 evap. IMs won't set to ready. Have no check engine light. 5.7 salt. 2007, 2006. Truck Norris cam 2600 salt. Anyone know a good tri-cycle for GM trucks? Can anybody help them out? At TBS forum, I had a tuner tune them out to pass emissions. How do I get higher RPM with a Chevy 292? It would take a lot. It would take but it does. It's the same thing as everything else. You need a short runner intake manifold. You need more cam timing and more head flow. All of that will get you more engine speed. This looked like it was new. The moped, that is. Oh, okay. $1,350. This thing costs that much? Wow. I feel like I need to wear gloves and stuff. It's a magneto or distributor. I don't know. It has a distributor, but I don't know how I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they just made it look like a distributor. I'll have to check it out. So now I really got to take care of them. I had no idea that they were that much money. I can see why, because that's a hefty chunk there. Look at that. Look at that crankshaft, man. Oh. Forged steel, 4340. I don't know what it is. It's got a sleeve block, though. There you go. Wah, wah. And it feels all billety, and it came with the tools too. I started going through all my tools to find small Allens and stuff to be able to assemble this. But so it'll be cool then when it's done. I was thinking that the block was aluminum, but now I want to put a magnet on it. I don't think I have one handy here. I do not. Front mount distributor is a good way to drive it. It is water cooled, I think. Someone mentioned on the forum they did an engine swap, so I'm almost ready to disconnect the battery for 30 minutes to an hour and a half and see. Truck has no AC right now. Compressor failed. Uh-oh. So no belt to run it. Big bore and stroke it. Then a very small turbo. It would be cool to put a little turbo on it. Double the money, and you can run it with a Holly. It has 2 little carburetors on it. And it has a radiator, and I'm assuming looking at, so I didn't look through all of the pieces, but it has a couple of pumps. So I'm assuming that it's got an oil feed maybe, and it's got a pan and all that. So we'll see. What cam do you recommend for your 5.3, for my 5.3 Chevy motor? It already has the cam in it that I want. Been fun though, but not liking not being able to register. I get that. Does it at least feel a lot better than a 5.3 did? I don't know if my bifocals can focus on carb jets that tiny. It is a little bit of a problem. So some of the hardware, like I was doing the rod bolts. I don't know if you can see in there. They're ultra tiny. It's hard to see, especially when it's dark. I need to put up, I'm going to go get some more lighting for where I work on this stuff on my bench. It's the 2 light bulbs that I have in the garage are not strong enough. Not even close. Oh, I forgot my little bright light. I could have brought that. Helped a friend build a souped up 50cc pit bike, board to 77. Makes me happy. I can claim I'm disabled, so I don't have to ride it. I'd rather get in a box with a rattlesnake. It was fast. That's a big change in displacement. Seen turbos and superchargers for RC stuff. So you want to know what I would recommend, what cam I would recommend for something you're towing with? The low buck truck that I have, cam that I have would be a good tow cam. The 4.8 quick offline. Oh, the difference from the 4.8. Yeah, that would be a lot. Even more so, really. 8 scale, 21 cc's. You need to buy a very small, very small engine dyno. Can't I just hold it and see how much power it makes? I don't know what you mean by thoughts. The traction on the wet. That's good. That's what you want, right? No brakes. What idling are you talking about? I do have the Kung Fu grip. All right, I don't anymore so much. I used to have a really strong grip when I was doing Ninja Warrior stuff because that's all that it was. It was a lot of like overhead stuff and finger stuff. I was pretty good at like rock climbing and stuff. It was fun. I haven't done it for a while though. Rated hamster power. You have excellent improvised field construction abilities. Wow. I mean, it's this just like every other one that you put together from anything. It's the same things. It's crankshaft, it's connecting rods and pistons, rings. It's all the same. What's your top 3 motors that you like? I don't have any. I like whatever the next motor that I'm putting together. Ooh, this has a keyed crank too. I like that. And it has a bell housing and stuff, so it's pretty cool. Wah, wah, wah. So right now, this is my this is my favorite motor right now. And then the next one. I got a lot of stuff they got to get done. Oh, let's see if there's more than one. Yeah, there's actually a couple of them that want to come out. 2 of them that want to come out. Nearly done already. GT45. We've run the GT45 on everything else, so I don't know why we wouldn't run it on this. Here's an interesting thought. A turbo would be too hard to do because to find something that would be sized for this, but you certainly could run nitrous on this. There is some amount of nitrous that you could run on this. I mean, there's not going to be any load on it, so it's just going to zing it up. But what motor did you ever blow up first? The first one I remember blowing up, we did it on purpose, and it wasn't even mine. It was actually my roommate's. He had a Honda Civic that had, I don't know, 18 million miles on it. And it used to smoke so bad that when he would pull up, because it had the louvered hood, and when he would pull up like at a stoplight next to somebody, there'd be smoke just pouring out of it. I mean, people were worried it was smoking so bad. We got a ticket one time in it from the police because the thing smoked so bad out of the hood and out of the exhaust. It was. I mean, it kept running because it's a Honda and that's what they do. But it was, it was time. And so he decided to put a different motor in it, and he got one from the JDM stuff. He bought one from the warehouses, and he's going to put it in. So he's like, okay, well, we'll just brick this one, just brick the accelerator on this one, and we'll drain the oil out and we'll brick it, and then see what happens. See if it just slings rods or whatever. And this was because he worked at a Chevron station. He was a mechanic at a Chevron station. And so we pulled it in there, just took the oil out of it, full throttle. But the thing is, it didn't die, though. I mean, it did. It eventually stopped. It was, wah! I mean, it would only run at like, I want to say 5,500 RPM or something. It didn't wing up to it's like whatever its maximum. That's as high as it would rev. And it did that for quite a while and then just started getting lower and lower and lower and then it stopped. We're like, okay, great, it seized up. Now we start getting ready to swap the motor out. That was a little anticlimactic. But we gave it a little bit of time to cool off and then it started up again. Like, man, these Hondas are hard to kill. But we eventually took that one out and did another one. That was the first kind of pseudo big bang. If you find an Elgin cam, a crane, a crow, or a comp with the same values as the Texas Speed Chop Crabba or BTR Truck Norris, they will work fine. Go by price then. Oh, is that for him? Yeah. Ephesians? Is that what it is? Is that how to pronounce that? I have cams that are that. The low buck truck camshaft that I have is the equivalent of the Truck Norris or the Chop Cabra, or everybody has cams that are going to be like that. Because if the specs are similar, the performance is similar. Who taught you to work on motors? My dad had a lot to do with that, but only because I had to. The motor in my first car, the Camaro, broke a ring, and we had to rebuild it. And so he showed me kind of how to do that. But I didn't do a lot of that stuff until later on. Most of the stuff that I've learned, I would say, is doing stuff at West Tech and doing the dyno testing. I should measure the stroke on this thing, huh? Measure the bore and stroke. I wonder if they have that in their data. I think what I should do really is I need to change the rod length. There's way too much side loading. Piston flip. Do you know if there's any performance difference between a tall deck 496 and a short deck 496? Are you talking about if the displacement is the same? I don't know why there would be any difference. I think there'd be a bigger difference from the intake manifold being different than there would be from any change in like rod length or anything like that. Is that not tightened all the way? Seems like a bit of movement there. Good news is you can run a distributor and a carburetor on the LS. Yes, you can. Should be in the data, probably in metric. Cylinder diameter 16.6 millimeters, and the stroke is 17. So it's almost a square motor. So it's going to be like a small version of the. I don't know. I don't know what it would be like that. I wonder if more bearings will hold that in place. Now I'm curious to see what the bearing clearance is. $16 millimeters. So it's more than a half an inch. It's not a single overhead cam. It's a cam in the block. See, that's what cam goes in there. And it has like these are push rod tubes. The 454 never came as a tall deck, only the 366 and the 427. What is your favorite carburetor? I don't necessarily have favorites the way other people do because I do testing for a living. So my job is to show you what works. So I'm not a party line kind of person. Not in anything. Not in religion. Not in politics. Not in any of that. And certainly not on carburetors. I've run Holley stuff a lot. I've run Quadrajet stuff a lot. I've run thermoquads. I've run Webers, SUs. The new Edelbrock carburetor, the new VRS Edelbrock carburetors are really good. The big thing is getting the carburetor tuned properly, sized properly for what you're trying to do, and also tuned properly. That goes a long way. And then, you could make good power with that stuff. After seeing the block, I want to play whack-a-mole. Exactly. That's exactly what you want to do. That's perfect. Comes with a gasket set. I'm gonna write low buck truck on the camshaft, and I'm gonna put like Felpro 1011 on the head gasket. I don't know, something like that. There. It's almost was like a flathead. Yeah, but a flathead has the valves in the block, though, right? So this is more like I think that this is more like a Ford 6-cylinder. You're after the engine. I do. I like building it because there's something like zen about that. It's like mowing the lawn. It's a good feeling to know what you're doing and then to go out and do it and then have it be done, and you could see the progress and stuff. Same thing with building an engine. You're like, okay, look, I've done this now. Okay, I got the crank in, I got the mains on, got it all torqued. I don't know what kind of little torque wrench I'm going to use here, but getting the short block done and then getting the cam in there and the front cover, getting it all lined up and stuff. I think that they have slots in here. Okay, so that is keyed. Okay, so that they got it all handled. It's all good. On an Ellis crate engine, besides the ring gap, what else needs to be done to put a supercharger on it? What I do when I run boosted stuff is, if we've taken it apart to put ring gap in it, I normally don't ever reuse head gaskets. I've mostly done that on NA stuff. I know Matt over at Sloppy has reused head gaskets. We have head gaskets there, so that's not a big deal. I clean everything off, do the Super Ruchi razor blade rebuild. I put new head gaskets on it, and I always put head studs on it, or even head bolts. I don't care which one it is. Particularly, I'm not, when we were doing the big bang stuff, when we were making lots of boost and lots of power, I put good head studs on it. I put on the one that made 1500, we put CA625s on it. Everything else had 180 thousandths or 200 thousandths. Or 200,000 PSI, however they're rating them. Just had your normal ARP stuff on it. But I like using that stuff. A lot of guys have run stuff with stock head bolts. No amount of internet lore is going to make me believe that a factory head bolt is as strong as an ARP head stud. That's I will never agree with that. I think inch pounds might be too much. I think so too. Get a torque wrench that can measure down to the 4th decimal point or the 5th decimal point. That's a lot. The other thing you'll have to do on a thing to put boost on, obviously you have to have some kind of bigger injector, and then also some sort of other kind of fuel pump too, because you have to be able to supply the motor enough fuel to do what it needs to do. I had to go down to the auto parts store for this to get some. I didn't have any grease. That's what they're telling you. I asked the people at the auto parts store. I said, "Do you guys have assembly lube?" They're like, "What?" Okay, never mind. So I just got grease. Right now, this piston doesn't have a ring in it because I knew I'd be playing with it. It goes, it goes up and down easier. I'm gonna do a compression test on it. Even without a ring in it, it's building compression. So let's put a piece of paper over this and see. Yep. I have ARP mains, head studs and main studs on my small block Mopar. The amount of nitrous I use, probably a good idea. I don't ever put ARP stuff on the bottom end of these motors. We did the factory stuff on all of the Big Bang motors. None of the Big Bang motors had anything done to the bottom end of them. They all were just reused the original main bolts and rod bolts. And we never had any problems with those. When we broke something, because that's how we get the name, the Big Bang. When we broke something, which was a rod or a piston, the rod bolts and everything were still fine, and the main bolts were all still fine. That none of that moved. We just broke something, whether it's a rod or a piston. What's the dumbest thing you ever did in the car? Lots of stuff. The dogs are Bruno and Brady and Milo. Goldens. Bruno, come here. Come on up here. Hey. Come here. Bruno, come here. Come here. Come here. Come say hi. Hello. What are you doing? This is Bruno. Huh? This is Bruno. Where's Brady? Hello. Huh. There's Brady. Huh? There he is. Come here. Come here. What are you guys barking at? What's out there? What are you guys barking at? Huh? What are you guys barking at? Okay, go get him. Go get him. Go. But I'll pet you some more. I know. Hello. What are you doing? What are you doing? I know. Hello, dogs. Okay. Go lay down. No, we've done some. Actually, when I think about it, I'm not the crazy one. I mean, I was driving, but the crazy one is when we were out the Silver State, and we were going 180 something miles an hour in my Mustang with no passenger seat, and we're driving in the middle of the night in the middle of the desert in Mexico. And my buddy Bernie is sitting on the floor of the car with a pen light in his mouth, trying to read the crane interceptor while we're driving so that we know what the air fuel and stuff is. We're trying to know that the mixture is right on the supercharged car. That's not good. I should have taken pictures when I put the pickup tube on my engine a few months ago. I know the heads have ARP studs, but can't remember if the main caps have them. It's not. That's not the. Especially yours is an NA one, right? That you'll never have a problem with that. Never, ever. Yeah, the dogs are awesome. I took them for a run today. Did some hill workouts. Mine's NA and I bought it overhauled already. That's okay. I know that back in the magazine days, when we were doing motors, everything got forged rods, everything got forged pistons, everything got ARP stuff, everything did. Mostly because a lot of those times, those guys were just providing it. I said, yeah, here, if you're going to put something together, use this. Like, oh, okay, that's better than what we had. So we'll use that. Like on the LS stuff, the only thing I've ever asked the guys from ARP, like for those CA625 head bolts, I'm like, or head studs, I'm like, they said, well, you're trying to do what? I said, well, we're trying to do this. He goes, oh yeah, you're going to need that. And that's not going to save you from doing the dumb things. That'll just stop it from, hopefully hold the head on there long enough for you to do the dumb things that you want to do. I'm like, yep, you know me, you get me. I got my block done with all 8 sleeves. I can hardly tell where the sleeves are at the top, but I can see the 1/2 inch from the bottom. Yeah. Are the sleeves longer than the stock ones were? How often do you have a forge internal setup let go on the dyno? Never. I mean, if something breaks, it's because of something else. It's never oh well, I broke a forge crank. Really? Did you? Did you break the crank because you made so much cylinder pressure that you actually bent the crank and snapped it? Probably not. When those things break, it's usually an oiling problem or a balance problem or a detonation problem, that kind of thing. And all of those things will kill any kind of crank. Doesn't make any difference what you make it out of. You can make it out of the most expensive double throwdown stuff that's available, and it's going to break because they're not designed to do that. So the amount that the forge crank is better than the cast crank is some, and maybe a substantial amount. But within that range, if you're way out here because you're causing detonation or no oiling or whatever the problem is, it's not going to save that stuff. All you've done is ruin more expensive stuff. The guy was originally going to drop it in an E46 and use it as a drift car. I like E46s. I think that they're cool. When would you pin the balancer on an LS? How much boost would be a problem before it slips? If you're trying to drive a supercharger off of it, I would pin it immediately. Have you ever thought about having kids over to build a motor? At the dyno facility, you mean? What is it like 2,000 horsepower when LS starts lifting heads? I think that you could get into the problems before that if you have a factory head. Your son likes watching? Does he like the dogs? If he's 6, he's got to love puppies, right? Those guys are a little more than a year old now. I was charged $100 per sleeve and have to put his business sticker on my van. Didn't have the sleeves before. He bored it out for the sleeves, left a 1/2 inch of the cylinder, and it was already at 30 over. Okay. How thick are the sleeves that he put in? Do you know? Do you know what the wall thickness is on the sleeve? Are they a couple 100 thousandths thick? I'm curious. I've sleeved, I think, 2 blocks, and both of them were LSs, and both of them were Darton sleeves. And we had somebody do it, and it worked out good. One of them we made the 468 out of, and I think the other one was a 4. It was smaller, I think. I think it was a 454. 3 Gs. I didn't want to spend it, but I would have been paying a truck note again and all the stuff beyond 2007. Yeah, no, I agree. We're having to get new cars or a new car for my wife, and I'm going to have to look at something before sometime. I don't know how long, I don't know how much more than 350,000 I can expect, but a new one is just ridiculous. 3/16 thick, 4-inch sleeves. You ever thought about building a 3-cylinder motor? Yeah, you're new here, but I have set land speed records with a 3-cylinder Chevy Sprint turbo. So I've in fact, I have a 3-cylinder Metro right now that we did some videos with where I put a AMR supercharger on it. And so I have 2 other 3-cylinder Sprint turbo motors that I'm going to run. One of them is going to run at Bonneville, maybe both of them. So yeah, I'm familiar with those 2. The ads, high nickel sleeves. Good, they won't wear then. I don't know how the Dodge stuff is, like compared to the small block Chevy stuff, because the high nickel blocks tend not to wear as much. But if you have rebuilt any older small block Chevys, and the Fords didn't seem to be as bad, but certainly on the small block Chevys, when that thing has miles on it, and not even like 350,000 miles, like 50 or 60 or 70,000 miles, there's a ridge at the top of the bore because it has worn the bore quite a bit. That's when you get the extra ring gap. You know that there's extra ring gap when there's extra bore, and that's not uncommon for those small block Chevys. Builder a K5 Blazer. He does love watching puppies. He likes watching you. He's autistic. So he's probably like super sharp. Puppies are awesome. They're wonderful. 2 coworkers already have vehicles in for transmission issues, 2016. The other's a 2019. That's my wife's. Hers is a 2020. And it's Mercedes, so I'm afraid of it that it's going to be very costly. Should something happen to it. So I'm thinking this is a time when I might go like the extended warranty route and go, here, fix this. $24,000 plus from when I rebuilt it 12 years ago. No ridge at all at 24,000. Okay, just a crack on number 5. What is the crack from? Did a piston or rod break or something? On my small block Chevy, I actually had a piece of the ring break off. It snapped and wedged in sideways and wore a groove. It's not good. Burned a lot of oil. A lot. It used to burn enough oil to foul the plug. Years ago, Silverado, Sierra Denali. I thought that I read that some of the LT stuff was having trouble, and I don't know if it was if they were engine related issues or if they were transmission related issues. 250 shot of nitrous, thin spot in the casting. Okay, that makes sense. It's interesting that like how far down was the thin spot, because it had to be pretty close to the top to be exposed to any sort of like heavy cylinder pressure. 1 inch, yeah, that's close enough. That's the problem area. That's definitely problematic. What are the benefits and drawbacks of a dry deck? If running coolant through block and head. I've never run any dry deck motor on the street. So I think that when guys are doing that, they're probably doing that with methanol, I would imagine. Your small block only burned oil and fouled one of the 8 plugs. Yeah, only one of the plugs would get fouled. Ran 350 to a stone ridge. Rings and pistons look good. Don't have any trophy 4-cylinder or 2.2 news right now because I haven't been down to test anything. Both of the transmission, okay. Oh, a drag van, you could reuse the rotating assembly. Just put rings in it. Just put ring gap in it. Then, boom, you got some boost. Any experience with WCP coating engine parts for racing? No, I haven't done any direct testing for that. I had some coatings on the pistons. I don't think we had any. I don't think I had any on the rods. We had some coatings on the pistons that I did for Engine Masters, but I don't have any way to compare that to anything else. Have you ever worked on a rotary motor? Yes. I haven't ever run one on the engine dyno, which I really want to. I'd like to get a hold of a 12A or 13B and just run it on the dyno and then play with it a little bit. Scott, you want me to run a rotary motor on nitromethane or something else? Like you had me at nitromethane, so whatever we could run it on would be good. I've wanted to run a fuel test for a long time, so I want to run it on pump gas and then E85 and then methanol and then probably like M5, which is a percentage of nitromethane, and then maybe higher percentages of nitromethane. Somebody donate a rotary. That would be cool. I haven't seen any ever in the wrecking yards. Otherwise, I would have grabbed one of them if it was a complete motor. Even if it didn't spin, I would have grabbed it anyways, probably, because it would be cool just to take it apart to see if it had, if the apex seals or whatever were locked up, so we could, because we've seen guys get those unstuck and make them work, which we would try first before I took it apart. But it's just stuff. It's like it's like this one. It's just stuff. I'd like to see a test of coating the exhaust port to lower oil and water. Coating the piston chamber on exhaust port should make a difference, but you don't see it much. I feel like things like that, which I think would be beneficial, I feel like things like that would be maybe noticeable, like on an endurance race thing where water temperature would be more of an issue, where you're under lots of load all the time. And then also maybe for turbo stuff where coating the port, keeps temperature in and directs it to the turbo and that kind of stuff. See if you can get an Ernie Brink rotary. I don't know what that is. I've never put cement in a block. I've never done that. I've never, half filled them or done any of that. It's not normally what I cover on my channel. Don't really build race motors. What's the basic street suspension setup for an IRS Coyote? Does anybody know? Does anybody else out there race a Coyote? In Washington, pull up next to the Army base. They have rotaries and pallets in the yards. What do they have rotaries in for the Army? Because I know it's not RX-7s. It's not RX-3s or 4s either. It's not all that. And a slice of Melba toast. Why didn't somebody tell me we don't even have a poll? Right? We didn't do a poll. Okay, should I run nitrous on the Howin engine 6-cylinder on this thing? Whoa. Once it's all together and has MLS head gaskets on it, should I run nitrous on it? Everybody should vote yes. Yeah, a rotor would be cool. I always wanted to run a turbo on one. I mean, I've since then, this was way back in the 80s, but because my friend had one, he had a 81, and they were talking for a long time about doing a turbo on it and stuff. But it would have been cool. Had a dune buggy with a rotary, ran on methanol. I bet that was pissed off. Was it an NA one? Like, did you have a side draft on and stuff, or was it a turbo one? Does it run on nitromethane fuel like an RC engine? This one does not. I think it just runs on gas. Just wrecking yard cars I got when I was stationed there. 13B2. Cool. Turbo 2. Nice. Break it in first, see what it does NA, and then nitro. It's got low compression, that's for sure. NA read to 15,000 RPM. That seems like a lot with an 850 carburetor. Hang on, if I'd have known this was an inline six stream. It is. It's this. It's my little Howin engine that I'm putting together. Look. Wah, wah. Look at that. Wah. This is what I'm building. So inline six cylinder. Wah, wah, wah. It's all ability. I figure you'd appreciate it. It's all about inline six cylinders, right? I was at McCord Field from 2010 to 2012. Put a fogger on it. It's going to be hard to get small enough foggers on it. I think that this thing is a dual carb setup. Through a 2-foot flame out the header pipe. They do that. Yeah, Prestige, that's what we were talking about, was running a little bit of nitrous in it. I wonder, because we're going to have to free rev it. I can't really load it unless I make some sort of load cell, which I could do probably, just a wheel or something. Just a heavy wheel maybe. Because if you add nitrous to it, all you're going to do is add a bunch of RPM very quickly. Unless I could, I bet there's a way I could configure my own little dyno for it. It's got to be something I could do. A lever or water pump or something. That one would work in a Geo. Probably need to make a mini dyno. I know I do, right? I think that the right kind of, maybe even using a little turbo as a water pump would do it. Gas bicycle nitrous kit will work. What is a bicycle nitrous kit? An alternator? That's a good idea. You could even drive it with a belt. I'll have to look and see if there are throttles for the carburetors, if it will go to wide open throttle, and then see if I can spin an alternator or something like that. And then what we'll do is make it so that we'll put enough load on it to where we'll limit RPM, and then put the nitrous on it, and they'll have more RPM. So it will be more. Two strokes. I'm thinking we just put the nitrous in a balloon and spray it into the carburetors. 13V rotor. Have you ever thought about doing a V2 motor? Yeah, we were talking about that a lot. Can always do a raw mass dyno. That's kind of what we're talking about with the alternator. I don't know if this might have a flywheel on it. would be interesting. I need to look in to see whether or not we can adjust timing and stuff. Yeah, they're definitely cool looking. Now it makes me want to use like synthetic grease and stuff. Use some good stuff. Now I'm getting all kinds of ads on do-it-yourself engines. Should have a flywheel. It does have a starter motor on it, that's right. It says up to 13,000 RPM for this thing. Man, that's a lot. He's got the wrong bore and stroke for that, right? Four-stroke, water-cooled gas engine. Yeah, I know it has spark plug wires. Look at those ports, man. Dude, I could go in and do some porting on that head. It does have a couple of pumps that are driven off of that. Two carbs. I got to put some Webers on there, obviously. Some Weber side drafts. Oh, dude, they had headers available. Should have got the headers, right? CDI ignition kit? Dang. That's as much as a CDI ignition is for a V8. Man, look at that. It has all of that stuff. How does this thing have spark plugs in it? It's got the radiator. Oh, and it has a little, they've even got a little fan for the radiator. It's got a, looks like it's got it does. It has a water tank there. It's a reservoir. It has the radiator. It has a little water pump. Man, that's gangster. Oh, that's what I wondered what that crossbar was. That's for the throttle linkage. That's pretty cool. It does have fuel. I'm almost thinking that that's is that oiling too, maybe? That would be cool if it is. So that's fuel. Oh, and what I was looking at was that's actually the intake manifold. I thought that those were the exhaust manifolds. That's actually the intake manifold. So that feeds into a common pipe. You definitely could put a turbo on that, right? So this is the Ford 6. It's a 300 inline 6-cylinder. That's what I thought it looked like. So this is based off of that. While retaining the appearance elements of the classic inline six-cylinder, it adopts the self-developed distributor ignition, upgraded independent lubrication system, new intake system, water cooling and heat dissipation, as well as gasoline fuel. Dang! 1/8 scale mini inline six-cylinder. Taking the long stroke as the engine design blueprint for high torque, flexible oil seal, and high performance applications. Designed with a water cooling groove inside the cylinder block, water pump for circulation, cooling fan, features a valve overhead and camshaft structure on the bottom, push rod control valve. I did see the rockers on it. 5 main bearings. Brand new dual carburetor with a pump. Dang, it's got lots of stuff. The power's 3.05 PS. Very cool. Lots of cool stuff. You can do a water pump through a certain size nozzle and calculate the power via distance on the spray. Dial in for large numbers with a larger nozzle. Yep. Any way that we can see a difference. Sure, you can make some headers out of brake line or something. Yeah. We need stack injection on there. Some side drafts. That's how they used to dyno frac pumps in the 70s. Put it in an RC boat. It uses 6 legit iridium spark plugs. Bet those are cheap, huh? Get some videos of quarter scale mini supercharged V8s. They're pretty cool. Yeah. Supercharge it with a leaf blower. We definitely could do that. We have enough displacement for that. RC airplane. Yeah, I don't know that would be my choice for an RC plane, but a boat. It look good in like a Chris Craft. Now I want to do all kinds of different induction systems for it. I got to get it assembled and running first. It's got to run first, and then we'll do the other things. How's our poll? 74%. Should I run nitrous on the engine? 26% are saying no, that I shouldn't run nitrous. That's a definite yes. You got to big bang it. But first, we got to get it running. And on that note, it is time to go. Thank you guys all again for showing up. I will see you all tomorrow.